Hello. There's quite a lot here that I want to say, but I think I'm going to do it all in one go because it's all about the same thing. So we've been looking recently at things you might want to try and put in place from the beginning of the year, and this clip is all about actually getting them to stop talking and listen to you so you can communicate with your class. I've got 4 strategies. By the way, if you haven't seen number 28, I think there's a very sweet, simple but reasoned technique there on grouping your class together. So you might want to go back and have a look at that if it's sort of slipped under your radar. Right, first point then. I think the first thing is maybe to acknowledge sometimes to our classes that it can be a bit annoying that we're continually stopping them. I mean, I say to my students, you know, I know it might get on your nerves a bit. I ask you to talk to a partner, and then just as you're getting talking, I stop you. I'm sorry. I know it's irritating. That's kind of my job, though. So there's maybe that is a small micro technique, but occasionally you can slip that in there. Maybe not right from the beginning of the year, but it might be a nice point of acknowledgement somewhere along the line. Second is to prime them by setting up. If you're going to get your students to do some speaking, set up the end at the beginning. So I'm going to be asking you to ask your partner these questions. However, in about 5 minutes, I'm going to stand up dramatically from my chair, put my hand on my hip and look at you like this. And that will be the signal for you to stop talking. For example, it doesn't matter what it is, but you're setting up some sort of a captivation technique at the beginning of the activity. You know, it could be like, you know, after about 6.5 minutes, I'm going to raise my hand steadily in the air. And if you see it, you know, going up there, can you tell the person next to you, he's putting his hand up, it's time to stop. Something like that. So again, we're setting up the end at the beginning. There is something that is not in that book. I shall write about it in the future. I simply call it the procedure. In fact, you'll notice that I often have things. In the last clip, I talked about the combinations for grouping students. I call this the procedure. I'll say to my students, to my learners, do you know about the procedure? And obviously they will say no. Oh, okay. Let me explain it to you, and then I'll explain it to them. What I'm doing by giving these things sort of titles, calling them the combinations, the procedure, I'm creating a certain amount of distance between me and some of my own systems, so that when there is resistance to the system, I can use that distance and say, yeah, sorry, that's just the procedure. That's just that thing over there that isn't necessarily, you know, part of my core being. The procedure. It works something like this. When I want to speak to you as a group, I'll put my hand in the air, I'll gesture, and then I'd like you to imagine that an invisible timer starts counting down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. By the time it gets to 1, you need to be looking at me and having concluded your conversation. But you do get those 5 seconds. Those 5 seconds are enough for you to turn to the person or keep looking at the person you were talking to and go, hey, yeah, okay, well, yeah, I'll tell you more about that later, okay? Yeah, or, yeah, yes, you did, but it turned out not to work anyway, so, yeah, I'll tell you in a bit. You see, that's time to conclude. So we're not asking people to stop what they're doing immediately. We're recognizing that they're human beings, that they're involved in a conversation, and they're going to take some turnaround time. But it's that sort of 5 seconds. So I'll say to my class, so by the time, and you can practice this, I'll say to them. In fact, well, you can do it with me, but I mean, you can count in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have a look around. Has everybody else, got to where they need to be in the 5 seconds? So that's the procedure. I don't expect you to be, robots and stop immediately. There is a little bit of time, but it's concluding your conversation. Just, explaining to the person that you'll tell them in a bit if you've got something else to say, or delivering the final line, punchline of a joke, or the most important sentence, and then looking at the teacher. That's the procedure. Now, sometimes your classes will not be that, and you can remind them, yeah, I think that was kind of more than 5. How are we doing? Can we make the next one a bit quicker? And again, we're priming them. The other thing is that I'll sometimes say to a group is, okay, guys, it's taking a bit of a long time now. Can you remember the procedure? Can anybody explain it? And again, we've got a thing that we can refer back to. And then the sort of the most difficult, the sort of dreaded card to play is, okay, so I think we might need a bit more practice at the procedure. So what I'll do is at the end of this lesson, I'm going to have a special lesson for those of you that I think need help with the procedure. I'll be looking to see who those people are. Teacher, what do you mean at the end of the lesson you have a special lesson? Well, just at the end of this lesson, I'm going to have a mini lesson for the people that I think need a bit more practice with the procedure. We'll just run through it maybe 10, 15 times together. You can pretend to speak and, then I'll hold up my hand and you can see them thinking, oh no, I don't want that. That sounds like the worst thing in the world. And anyway, teacher, what do you mean at the end of the lesson? Well, the lesson finishes and then we just have a mini lesson together. He's talking about staying afterwards to do that. No, we can't be bothered to do that. Let's just wrap up our conversations more quickly. So that is the procedure, and that's what I call it. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is slightly different. The fourth thing is something that does feature in Understanding Teenagers. Can't quite remember the page, but I imagine that it'll pop up to this side of me, or indeed to this side of me where there is this blank space. I should do something with that, shouldn't I? Okay, we're at about 7 minutes 52 according to the timer. I'm going to try to move on so this isn't too long for you to sit through. So this was a couple of years ago. I was in the middle of a class and they were a great class, really nice individuals. I'm saying that because I think a couple of them actually watch some of these videos as well, so bless you if you know who you are. It was a nice class, but I was tired and I thought, how can I explain? There was a lot of talking amongst themselves, and I was having a problem talking to the class. So I thought, okay, how can I phrase this? I said, guys, I said, look at this, and I drew something on the board. I'm going to show you in a slightly more refined way. So I showed them this. Have a look at this. And I said to them, what's that? And they said, well, it looks like maybe you, the teacher, and us. I said, exactly. Have another look. And I said, what about the arrow? What's the arrow? What do you think that is? And they said, is it when you talk to us, teacher, when you teach us something? I said, yes, exactly. Now, have a look at this, I said to them. What do you think that is? What do you think those arrows are? And they said, is that when we talk to each other? I said, yes, you got it. Yeah, I'll show you again. It's going to be loads of work dropping in these images, isn't it? Should have just done it on a board. But anyway, you know, we all like a dropped-in image, don't we? I said, guys, yeah, that when you talk to each other, and when it's, you know, sometimes teachers that call it cross-talk or cross-chatter. At least I do anyway. I said, now have a look. What happens to my message to you when there's lots of cross-chatter? They said, teacher, it doesn't get to us. I said, exactly. Remember, I was just roughing this on the board. In fact, at the time, it looked something like this. And I said, yeah. I said, let me show you something else. What's this? And they said, it looks like love, teacher. I said, yes, it's the love that I have for you in my heart. They said, that's very nice, teacher. I said, yes. However, I have to say, when there's a lot of cross chatter and my message is not reaching you, this happens. They said, what are those? I said, well, they are dark clouds that come in and they obscure my love. Look. It's still there, but you can't see it and it's not reaching you. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I said to them, they said, yes, we do, yeah. Now, this, I think, is a nice way. I mean, what we spend a lot of time doing as teachers, when we're not doing pure language teaching, is reframing requests that our learners, you know, cooperate with us in a slightly different way, or give us a little bit more cooperation, or cooperate by behaving in a slightly different way. And I think the more different ways we can find, and the way, you know, if we can vary those requests, we keep things fresh, but we also manage to reach their imaginations in different ways. And this, they realise that there's okay, yeah. So rather than me just getting angry and becoming inflexible in the moment, you know, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Now, my long-time collaborator and sometimes co-presenter Raquel Gorosito, she liked that idea, and she went and cut out a cloud and a heart and put it on the top of her board. And whenever she explained to her students the whole thing, and whenever she felt she was getting a little bit, you know, stressed because her message wasn't reaching the class, she'd move the clouds nearer to the heart just to let them know how she was feeling. And I like that idea, so what I've done is I've created a little cloud template and a little heart template that you can have and stick to your board if you do so desire, and explain it to your students either from the beginning of the year or, you know, as the need arises. Just as there, it will be like that, wouldn't it? So what I've done is I've created a PDF. Here you are. There is an email attached to this channel. And if you want the PDF with the hearts of different sizes, all you have to do is send me an email. I think it's teachingteenagersenglish@gmail.com. But it'll probably, you know, whiz in from the side here if I remember to do that. Oh, birdie's having a flap around. Yeah, I'll let you out in a minute. I had the window open. Just as a little indicator, just as something to show them how you're feeling in the moment. As I say, we're just trying different ways to reach them, to share our teacher logic, and we're framing things, hopefully using images that will resonate with our learners. So there were a few techniques there. I hope that you found at least one of them useful. Strength and energy with your teaching. All the very best for the year ahead.